So I'm just by Park Square roundabout. I thought I'd just quickly show you Granelli's. It's a sweet shop here. It's not open today, which is a bit strange. It's normally open. So just this area here used to be back-to-back houses, and then after the war they put all the big high-rises around here. But what I'm going to do is take you up to Skye Edge and show you where they used to do tossing up there, and I'll tell you the story behind it, the Mooney gang, Shilleto and whatever. But I've just walked through from Last Lane, and I'm always a friendly person, so I'm chatting to somebody, and I think I was getting in the middle of a drug deal. So it's a shady area nowadays. I think it's far worse than it's ever been. So I've walked round onto the next road, and you can see the high rise that's been done up. Just imagine this was all back to back, and it was known as Little Chicago around here, with back to back houses before the war. Then they knocked them down and converted them into these high rises. But when I was just being friendly to some lads, then I was just saying, do you know about the Mooney gang? Because I'm on Duke Street now, and they looked at me gobsmacked. Well, you're not a Sheffield born and bred person if you've not heard about the Mooney gang. I can assure you on that one. So let's get further up Duke Street, and I'll cut across onto it, but I'll show you where I cut across. You can see the renovation on the flats. Not really for Sheffield folk anymore. Well, not the working class folk, the ones I care about anyway. It's more for people who've come into the city more recently. But it's quite a steep trek up this hill. Just imagine it was packed with back-to-back houses, and they wanted them out of these back-to-back houses, I bet for a reason. They want to control them in these areas. They always go on about, oh, we're doing it for your safety or whatever. But the majority of people are decent, well-behaved people, and the majority of people end up getting tombed in places like that for the sake of a few people. But these must have been really thriving communities once. You can see a sign up there, I think that says poverty porn. But not so much now. Very few people around here. I think one of my videos, people were saying when they lived in the flats round here, they all used to go across to the Castle Market. It was like their playground, and it was streaming with people from this area into the Castle Market area. There's no up here anymore. So I've got my bearings from Talbot Road, so I've come up Duke Street, and I'm gonna cut across up this road, and this should bring me up to Skye Edge. So I've just carried on up the road. You can see the city just below you there. It's quite a view from up here, as you can see. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut through here right now onto Skye Edge. Is a bit of a entrance way here. I'm assuming this is Skye Edge. So let's get on to the top, and then I'll tell you the story behind it, because everybody needs to know this story in Sheffield if you don't already know it. So we're now on what's known as Skye Edge. So I'm assuming it's probably that race section up there more than anything. Now, I was born in Sheffield. I may have lived out at S25 since 1966. But every Sunday we used to go to my granddad's, and he used to go on about the Mooney gang and Shilleto, the policeman from London. So I'll tell you a bit about the story after the war, First World War I'm talking about. There was a lot of poverty because there weren't the jobs. They tend to only produce the steel for wars, not for useful purposes. So people look for a quick fix way of getting rich. And what they used to do is on Skye Edge they used to toss. And Mooney used to run this racket. So, you know, if you make some money it's good, but usually it's going to be loaded towards that guy. But the idea is they're on top of Skye Edge, so they had lookouts. So if any of the police or whatever came along, they had an early warning. So that's why they were actually up here. So what actually happened is, I think this had gone on for many years, and then a kind of another gang came along called the Park Brigade, and things started to get a bit nasty. I think Mooney was starting to lose control of things. In fact, let's just have a walk up that little bit of a incline there before I carry on. So I've come a bit higher up, you can see all these big stones. So knowing the exact spot where they did the tossings, a bit hard to know, but you can just see through these trees. There'd have been quite some view up here to spot people coming. So that takes you down to the city. So you've got the Manor Estate over here. I don't think the Manor Estate was built till after the Second World War. So that's the Manor Estate over there. So it would have been quite an isolated spot in those days, a little bit away from the city. That would have been all probably green land over there. So going on with the story, Mooney was starting to lose control. There was infighting between Park Brigade and the Mooney gang. And then, well, I don't think there was many murders, but then there was one particular murder. I think there was very few murders compared with what we see now in Sheffield. But what actually happened is there was an outsider got involved. There'd been a scrap where there'd been one side were on top of the other. And I think he was actually trying to protect one of the Park Brigade gang who was being beaten up. And I think he got involved to try and stop that. And then they didn't like it at all. For some reason they turned on him, this Park Brigade gang. And I don't know if they caught him in the street one day or gone to his house, but they ended up killing him, murdering him. And at that point the authorities said enough was enough. And at this point Shilleto was brought in from London, and Shilleto brought in 6'5" coppers, and they called it the Flying Squad. And they didn't mess about, and they basically ended all this, and they came down heavily on all these gangs. They, you know, they're 6'5" guys, but they went out in pairs. They didn't mess about, and if they caught any of these people, you know, they really got it. So they basically crushed all of this. Now, there's probably more to the story than that. I'm just giving you a brief synopsis. Now, what I'll do is in the actual description, I'll put a link to a video, and it was one of the lads who's on EastEnders. I forgot his name now. I'm not Phil, but the other one. And he did a video on it. He came to Sheffield and he did a longer video on it. So I'll put that link in the description. I'll also put any other information I've got on it. But, you know, like, as a born and bred Sheffield, I'm sure you must know about it already. And to those not from Sheffield, well, probably ought to know about it. So that's it really. Quite some folklore in Sheffield. Times weren't hard in the past. So that's it. If you can like the video, follow the channel and click on notifications for new videos in the future. I'd appreciate that.